Is there any atheists or Christians that would like to have a nice conversation?
Yeah, what would you like to talk about?
Are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Are you an atheist? Okay, come forward please, sir.
Yeah.
Were you listening to that conversation?
No, partially. Not all of it. Not all of it.
Okay.
Not all of it.
You seem like a you seem like a calm person. Which one? Don't worry, bro. I'm not like this. These people have been doing my nutting.
Okay, let's see.
I'm not like that. Trust me. Okay. What's the reason? Or when you look at the design,
Yeah.
when you look at the mere fact that the universe exists,
Yeah.
what do you apply it to?
I think it's chaotic. I think it's absurd. I think that there is no particular system or a particular purpose in the creation. And that's independent from my atheistic views, which is completely different. I don't believe that there is God because there's just lack of evidence. The fact that there is system, which I don't agree with, or any kind of purpose or systematic patterns. I believe in patterns, but I don't believe in purpose. So what I believe in is it's just chaotic, and there's no particular purpose. But the reason why I don't believe in God is just because lack of empirical evidence.
Why is your criteria for evidence empirical evidence? Or rather, something more nuanced. Do you only take something if you can empirically measure it?
Yes, most of the time. Except for there are two things: there are empirical evidence, and there is reason. So you can either use
No,
that.
you can't have your
or
cake
that.
and eat it.
Yeah.
Do you only accept things that are empirical?
No. Also,
Okay,
reason.
what are the two exceptions?
Logic, mathematics.
Okay, and those two clearly can't be put under
these
a
are
microscope.
Mathematical truths, like 1 + 1. You can't see it in nature, but it does exist every time.
Right. Why do you believe in that when you can't see it, you can't measure it according to the
it happens
empirical
every
method?
time when it's subject to experiment, it proves itself every time.
Okay.
Whereas God, it's not
One
subject to any
second.
experimentation.
Right. Let me deal with the individual points. So you're saying because in our experience it happens.
Yeah.
What's to say it will happen tomorrow?
Like in what? There is two types of reasoning: conductive and deductive.
I want empirical evidence.
Yeah, of what?
The fact that certain things will happen tomorrow, the way science tells us.
Well, usually there's no guarantee, but usually things tend to repeat
So it's
themselves.
based on an assumption, right?
Yeah, basically. So that's conductive reasoning.
Which one?
Deductive reasoning.
Right.
Yeah.
But deductive reasoning is that's logic.
Yeah, I mean, inductive reasoning.
Yeah, inductive reasoning, you've acknowledged, is based on an assumption or quote-unquote faith. Yeah? So if majority or a significant portion of science is based upon faith, how are you okay with that?
It's not based upon faith because you can experiment that. You can see it every day.
You can't.
Things are likely to happen.
Let me give you an
Pay
example.
your money.
Let me give you an example. The copper wires conducting electricity. That's happening today. It happened yesterday. It happened the day before. It happened the day before. You cannot say for a certain it will happen tomorrow. Yeah? The sun rising, you cannot say that it will happen tomorrow.
Well, that's true, but it does happen every day, and there's a good chance. So
That's circular reasoning.
Yeah, no,
You're falling into circular
everything
reasoning.
is
Just because-
probabilities in the universe. Right?
Just because something's happened in the past, you're saying it must happen in the future. That's false.
It's likely to happen in the future if that's making you feel better.
Likely. I mean, likely is not.
Likely.
Yeah, that means all of science is based upon likelihood.
Everything is based on likelihoods. Everything.
Everything is.
Everything in nature is probabilities. Everything. Even electrons, like
Okay.
how they're placed in
Okay, this
around
is interesting.
around the nuclei, it's probability.
What do you understand by the term probability?
Probability? A chance of something happening.
Chance.
Yeah.
My argument is that chance is ignorance of the variables.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Then chance technically doesn't exist.
Why does it not exist?
Because it's first person perspectival, meaning it's from our perspective. Just because we don't know the the surface tension on my hand when I'm rolling the dice. We don't know the gravity. We don't know all of the forces that are happening. Therefore, we cannot predict what I'm about to roll. However, if we knew all of the forces at action, then surely we'd be able to predict what I'm about to roll, right?
Yeah, true, but we also can see patterns, and patterns tend to repeat themselves.
Yeah, but
And
pattern.
you can see that.
But you said we, so it's human specific, right?
Yeah.
So if you're saying chance is a human constructed phenomena of things that we just don't know.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
That's
that we
not
have
science.
at hand. That's the only thing we
That's
have at hand.
experience, right?
Yeah, we don't have any other tool. That's the
We
best
do.
tool. It proved its
We do.
efficiency. It proved that it's the best way to go around things.
Okay.
It's the best way to do anything.
What's the best way to do
Following
anything?
patterns and then just keep working around them.
No, I would disagree.
Come up with a better way.
Deductive reasoning.
That's also based on somehow.
No,
based
that's
on
taking the general and applying it to the specific. Induction is taking the specific and applying it to the general. So deductive reasoning, I would say, is more superior than inductive reasoning. And that's logic, which can't be put under a microscope.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I believe in both of them. These two, these two construct empirical science. If you use these two, if you use these two, you're most likely going to reach the
No problem. Let's stick with, now that I've established that you do take logic, you don't just take empirical evidence. Do you believe that you are a contingent being?
Yeah.
Contingent on something else that's contingent?
But depends on what you mean by that.
Okay, so contingent by definition means something that can cease to exist, that's composed of parts, and that can be any other way. That's the logical, like if you look in modal logic, you like logic, right? So this is modal logic, yeah? I'm using those terms. So if you believe in if you are relying upon something contingent, that's relying upon something contingent, that's relying upon something contingent, there's two options. Either it goes on forever or there's an end to that chain. Which of the two options do you think it is? Now I want to know what your answer is.
But I want to know your answer.
So if you don't know, you seem very dismissive when you said I don't know.
Because if I don't know, that doesn't give you the right automatically to say, let me decide for you. If you don't know, then I've got the answer.
That's why I didn't give you an answer. You're asking me for an answer, and it seems like you're putting me into a trap. If I gave you an answer, you would have said, oh, you've given me an answer now. You see, you tried to put me in a trap.
If I have an answer for it, it would be purely philosophical.
Brother, I want you to give me an answer. Be honest intellectually. Not free, oh, you might trap me and this, that. I just want you to be honest.
I'm not afraid of any traps.
Yeah, so...
I'm just saying that this is something
so
that I have that is beyond my ability to...
there are two options,
know.
yeah? Either the contingent chain goes on forever, or there's an end to that chain which would necessitate it being a necessary existence. These are the only two options. Which of the two options, according to abduction, do you think it is?
I would say, I mean, like I said, my answer would be purely philosophical.
Brother, this is a philosophical slash logical argument. It's not scientific.
It would not be based on reason or based on just based on
Well, it is
intuition.
based on reason. I'll tell you why.
Based on intuition.
It's not
My
intuition.
intuition tells me that there's an end.
Your words were...
Your intuition is not the only thing that says it. In fact, the principle of sufficient reason of Leibniz, the law of non-contradiction, anything that we hold to be coherent in existence tells us there has to be an end to that chain for us to exist.
Well, one thing that the universe is not obliged to follow our logic or our non-contradiction laws or any of the laws that we're familiar with. The universe is under
Are you
no
saying
obligation.
there are contradictions within the universe?
There could be. I mean, there is
Not could be, are there?
How do I know? I'm just making a
Brother, how do you know anything? I'm asking,
Well,
just like the start of
because
this
I'm being
discussion.
genuine and this is integrity. If I don't know something, I would just say that I don't know it. But what religious people do is, if you don't know,
Brother,
let me
don't
decide
project
for you.
onto religious people. I'm just talking to you. Why are you so hell-bent on religious people?
No, because this is
relax.
the religious
No,
approach
no.
of thinking.
Leave them. It's not right that we're talking about something else and you jump and start attacking people that haven't made an argument to you yet. Yeah, we're making a
You're just
argument.
questioning me at this point. You're not making any...
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, brother. Have I asked you about something else? I want to know what you're thinking. If you claim to hold on to logic, but when I'm giving you logical arguments, I want to see how true you are when you say you adhere to them. So logically and rationally speaking, when you take into account infinite regress, contingency, just modal logic, the principle of sufficient reason, You've said yourself, it makes sense to you that there is an end to that chain.
But again, I don't dictate the laws of the universe. I don't dictate what. Nobody
Brother,
cares
one
about my
second.
sense or
One
what I
second.
think.
Relax.
The universe is independent from me.
Brother, why are you getting so triggered? Look, you are because you know when you have to feel the need to. No, but it doesn't mean this. I'm not gonna pull you down and say, aha, you're ashhadu. I know, brother, I'm not forcing you. You don't want to be Muslim, don't be Muslim. Bye. You want to be Muslim, marhaba, welcome.
Don't be a Muslim, you'll go to hell. Yeah. Five
You know,
bastards of
she's talking
Islam.
about going to hell.
Bastards
So
of
listen,
Islam.
if I'm a Muslim, why would I be debating him?
Hey, good,
You have
good.
She believes
any intelligence at all?
Thank you.
Just shut up.
Thank you.
She believes that Jesus went to hell when he died on the
The
cross.
Allah of Islam is a devil,
According to the
shaitan.
apostolic creed, they believe Jesus went to hell.
Jesus has no connection with
Ask her,
stupid
ask her.
Islam.
Does she believe Jesus
Jesus
went to
has no
hell?
connection with filthy Islam.
Please shut up, please.
Right. So here's my point, yeah? You believe in the necessary existence, yeah? Which is the end to that chain. You believe it to be coherent, you believe it to be logical, and you believe it to be rational, correct? Do you believe this necessary existence is a singular?
This is singular.
Like one, is it one?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so you believe there's two necessary existences.
What do you mean by necessary existence? What does that mean?
Right, I defined it at the beginning, I don't mind doing it again. A necessary, or maybe I forgot. A necessary existence is something that cannot cease to exist, is not made of parts, and cannot be any other way. That's the philosophical definition of a necessary existence.
Yeah, I was just wondering how that serves the argument of God. I mean, that seems very relevant.
Brother, you keep jumping. If you wait, I will tell you. But in order to do that, you keep giving me your footnotes with every answer, and that's why I have to wait for your footnotes to finish. Otherwise, we could have finished this very quickly. So, do you believe that the necessary existence is a singular or a plural?
Again, you didn't define it. What is the
I
necessary?
just finished defining it, brother.
You never did. You said that you will.
Didn't I just define it?
What is it then? Tell me.
Let me tell you again.
If you heard it, no, tell me.
Listen.
You said that you heard it, so tell me.
He heard it,
Tell me
but
that.
I'm going to explain it. And this is going to be online. You can check it. Yeah, you can smile as much you want at home. I'll join you. I will hug you and say, my brother. Yeah? Now, did you hear me just say a necessary existence is something that cannot cease to exist, cannot be any other way, and is not composed of pieces or parts? Did you hear me say that?
I can hear you say that, but
Did you hear me say that
I hear. Yeah.
before?
Yeah.
Well, this was my definition of a necessary existence.
But it doesn't really align with the words that it contains. I mean, what is necessary existence? Nothing really is necessary. Everything is probability. That's what
You know what you've done now?
What?
You've said I take logic, and you know what you've done? You wrapped it into
No,
a
I'm
ball
just saying-
and you've stuck it
No,
in your underpants.
Listen, you're
That's
not-
what you've
you're
done
not
with logic
giving me
right
a
now.
chance to speak. What I'm saying
And you're
is-
rubbing it around in your
only
underpants.
Logic only applies to everyday life that we encounter every day, to nature, the things that we experience.
What are you talking about? No, it
But
doesn't.
I mean, when it comes to beyond the unknown universe that we live in,
Yes.
unknown nature,
Yes.
our logic doesn't necessarily apply.
Yes, it does.
How do we know that?
What do you mean, how do we know that?
How do we know?
It's the classification of, what are the two main classifications of how we derive data and information? You don't know. That's what I'm saying, I don't
You
understand.
can't keep asking me questions. That doesn't serve the argument.
Brother, it does, because
No,
you
it
just made the claim we can only know things through our experience. Yes? And I'm telling you, no, that goes against fundamental logic.
That's not what I said.
Logic is not based on epistemology. Sorry,
can use
logic
logic
is
as
not.
well.
Wait, logic is not based on empirical evidence only. That's a posteriori information.
Yeah.
What's the other one?
Yeah, I agree on that. Move on.
No, not move on.
Yeah, well, I agree on that. I
No,
agree.
because a priori is an integral part of logic. A priori logic. For example, 1 + 1 = 2 is true in this world, and it's true in any other world conceivable. There's no world that can be conceived logically and philosophical in which 1 + 1 can equal. Let me finish. Yes, we do. It's called a priori logic and reasoning. For example, even a married bachelor. Yeah, a married bachelor is an absurdity and a contradiction. We know that is classed as a priori knowledge. We don't need empirical evidence to prove that that's true. We don't say that, oh, outside of the universe, a squared circle or a married bachelor will exist. That's
We don't know that. We don't know that. That's what I'm saying.
Brother, please, brother, please.
Yeah.
Don't be like the people that came before you. If you don't know something, say I don't know. But don't start telling me that I need to wrap up logic. You said you've accepted
I'm
logic.
honest enough to say
Brother,
the things that I don't know.
Brother,
but I
if
feel
you
like-
don't know, then say I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't say I'm making stuff up.
I've said I don't know like 5 times in this.
Yes, but then you also proceed by saying, no, that doesn't exist. For example, do you now, after I've explained it to you, do you accept there is such thing as a priori knowledge? Knowledge which does not take empirical evidence into consideration.
in nature that we're familiar with in the everyday world that
No,
we see.
but
Yes, that's true.
It's not
But we
nature.
don't know if that's going to be the case.
You're missing the
in
point
a
completely.
in a different universe. We don't know that in a different galaxy.
That's the whole point of a logical argument.
Yeah.
And when they say in any conceivable world, that's exactly what they mean. That in a multiverse, still 1 + 1 will not equal 3. It has to equal 2. That's a priori knowledge. There cannot be a married bachelor in the multiverse of Doctor Strange. It just does not exist.
Why not? That's what
Because that's the main principle of logic.
What your logic?
You can't look.
Your logic
Not
doesn't
my
dictate
logic,
the
brother.
universe.
This is
The
what you're
logic that
doing.
you know, the logic that we know, is not necessarily the universal logic. We don't know. That's what I'm saying. In this world,
Did you
yes,
say
logic
we don't
works.
know? You don't know.
You claim that you know.
Yes,
but
we
that's
know,
not true.
i.e. the philosophical and logical and
You
rational
can claim all the
community.
thing that you want. It doesn't make it true,
Brother,
right?
if I'm telling you there are 2 sources of knowledge, a priori and a posteriori, you didn't know what a priori is. I'm now telling you what that is, and you're still harping on about we can't know, we don't this, we don't that. I'm telling you by definition, when you say something is possible in all possible worlds, we make that claim that it is and would be possible even in a hypothetical multiverse. Even if you want to make the argument we could be in a multiverse, that multiverse still is composed of parts, right? And it could have been any other way, and it can cease to exist. Therefore, it's contingent and it's relying upon a necessary existence.
There's no way that we're gonna come to agreement on this point. I
That's
say I
because you don't know,
You
brother.
say you claim that you know. I tell you that there's no way for
And
you
I
to
give
know.
you evidence, you reject the evidence.
Yeah, there's no way for you to know. So
I just told you how we do know.
So it's going to
If
be an
you
open-
don't know and you want to say you don't know, brother, that's you. I respect that.
Yeah.
But don't superimpose that on me.
You claim that you know.
No,
You have all the answers, right?
I have the answers based on the logic that you said. Based on the philosophy that you are alluding towards. I've used your criteria to tell you the evidences, and because you don't know, you're telling me, oh, because I don't know, therefore you don't know and no one knows. I think that's
also it's not.
I don't think
logical.
that's
If I
just.
don't know, that means that you know. You claim that you know, but it doesn't.
Okay,
doesn't make it
on
true.
what
Anyway,
on what basis am I saying I know?
No, I mean, this is
On
pointless.
what
If we're
basis
gonna
am I
talk about
saying
the
I
same
know?
point- If we're going to talk about the same point, we're
On
not gonna
what
reach a
basis
conclusion.
am I saying I
let's
know?
Just stick it to the other point.
Brother,
what other point that you're making?
What basis?
Just say it.
Don't strawman me. On what basis am I saying I know?
You're claiming that you have the rules of logic. While I agree with it,
Yes,
that it
rules of
does
logic,
apply
good.
in every everyday world.
The rules
but
of logic do apply in every possible world. Next question.
That's what I disagree on.
You
can't know that.
disagree with the principle of logic then?
You can't know.
Not
you
me.
can't know that.
Why are you blaming me?
This is our logic because it's our universe. We've experienced
Brother,
it.
have you studied
But we
logic?
don't
Have you
know.
studied?
Briefly.
I don't know what you've studied. You need to get a refund.
Refund.
Honestly, brother.
Again, so what you're telling me is that you know for sure that the logic that we know and understand in our world will necessarily
Brother,
apply in
that's-
every
that's
other
blinding me.
possible universe.
Brother, can you do?
But
Can
how do you
something?
know that? How do you know that? That's the question. There's
like
no way for
constant.
you to know. There's no way for you to know.
Okay, sorry. No, there was a light there. It kept shining in my eyes. It's moved now. Right.
Yeah, so we'll move on to this point.
So let me
Move on.
let me tell you the point.
Yeah.
You're saying there's no way for us to know because your knowledge of logic is limited. Yeah. Once your knowledge of logic progresses, you will understand, and you will hopefully get back to this video, and you will see what I was saying was coherent and in line with what logic is.
No, my
okay,
knowledge,
next
my knowledge
question.
of the empirical world is limited. I don't know everything about it. I can't tell for sure. It can only be a possibility.
Brother, but the thing is...
100 years ago, 200 years ago, you would not imagine that time is relevant, right? Or relative. You wouldn't know that.
That's because...
It would sound illogical to you. But now that we know more about the universe, it makes more sense.
No.
But it's the
When it
sense that
comes
we
to-
didn't have only 200 years ago. So what I'm saying is that because you are limited in what you know,
Right.
cannot
I've
make-
understood what you've said. When it comes to a priori knowledge, whether it's 10 years ago, 100 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, it was true. Yeah, that's my point.
Okay.
Whether it's 1,000 years ago, whether it's in another world, 1 + 1 will equal 2. There is no such thing as a married bachelor. You can't have a squared circle. This
In this world,
is
yes, I agree.
foundational information, brother.
I know, not law of non-contradiction. I agree on that.
No,
But it
because
just-
initially you
it
said
happens
we
here.
could have that.
How? Why not? Maybe.
Why
I don't
not?
know.
Because
I
everything that
don't
we
know.
understand about the
But your
universe would
logic,
be incoherent.
Everything that you understand, which is from your perspective, your perception as a human. But you don't have all the knowledge. you don't
Even
have
from
anything.
a priori point
So-
of view, there is
so
no
again-
such thing as contradictions.
So let's come back to my point. When I said that the inductive reasoning, when something happens, that there is a good chance that it's going to happen again, you commented on that and you said your limited human understanding does not entitle you to say, "Oh, it's going to happen again." But in this particular scenario, you relied on your understanding and knowledge and the logic that you have. But while it might not be true in another universe, in another dimension, you don't know. You can never tell.
Right. So what you've said
Yeah.
falls under the criteria of a posteriori knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes? What I mentioned is a priori knowledge. I've made a distinction between these two several times.
Well, we're just gonna
For
move
example,
on. We're just going to move on this
You
point.
cannot conflate a contradiction with empirical evidences. They're two totally different things.
We'll just move on from
No
this.
problem.
Because
No
there's no way that we can.
No problem, brother.
Because you say something, two things that we cannot
Brother,
verify.
if you're failing to understand what I say, I don't know what more I can do, but we can move on, no problem. What's your question?
My question is, even by pure reason, can you prove that God exists?
I did. Contingency argument was pure reason.
What is the argument?
The argument was that you cannot have an infinite regress of contingent things. Logically, rationally, philosophically, there has to be a necessary existence. That necessary existence, by abduction, i.e. the inference to the best explanation, is one, is independent, pre and post eternal, and unlike anything that we know.
Okay.
And that is our definition of God.
Okay, is there any exception to this rule? Is it an absolute rule? That's my question.
Yeah.
Is it absolutely
It is an
your
absolute rule,
okay,
yes.
So, no. Just again.
By necessity, hence necessary
okay.
existence.
So you refer to your logic as absolute truth, right? When it doesn't matter when it is. It always apply in your definition. So when I ask you, is there any exception at all to this rule? The rule
When
of
it comes
contingency.
to- when
is
it
there
comes
any
to-
exception? No exceptions.
No.
Okay, but how did it happen then with God himself? So God came without. He was a result without a cause.
Yeah, that's
So
because
that's an exception, right?
right.
So
So
is that an exception?
that is an exception, and God
Okay.
is.
So if there's an exception, why does that exception not apply directly to the creation, and it
Yes.
applies only to a God, and then the universe? Why does it apply directly to the creation? That's a good
Right.
question.
Right.
If there's an exception, it can apply only to the
I've
creation.
understood you.
Yeah.
Yes. Because definitionally speaking, when we're talking about different types of existences, we and what's around us are definitionally a contingent existence. There has to be an end to that chain, whether philosophically, whether logically, or definitionally, whatever criteria you want to use.
give that
Brother, I
definition.
let you finish. So rather than you then jumping in and saying you don't understand, I'd rather finish. Now, through our inference, through our logic, through modal logic, S5 logic, whatever you want to see or whatever you want to understand, whichever philosopher talked about in the past, everyone says you simply cannot have an infinite regress of contingent things. There has to be an end to that chain. For us, God is the end to that chain. Whichever definition you want to take, whatever law of logic you want to take, whatever philosophical deduction you want to take, whatever law of abduction, not law of abduction, whatever rule of abduction you want to take. Yes, God is an exception. Why is he an exception? Why this? I'm saying definitionally, logically, he is an exception to the rule. Why? Because he has not composed the parts. He is not. It cannot be any other way. Sorry?
We don't know that, but anyway.
We do, because definitionally we have to rely on a necessary existence.
You moved
We're going in a
using-
circle, brother.
You moved from using pure reason to faith. So you said, for us, we believe
Brother,
that.
I have
we
to
believe
define
this.
it, isn't
But
it?
This is not
How am
pure
I
reason.
defining it?
I asked you if there's an exception to the rule that you just gave me, and you explicitly said that there's no exception.
By definition, the necessary existence is an exception to the contingent set.
But
That's what I mean
you
by
give
that.
definition. I can give any definition I want.
Look, you
It's up
asked
for
me
interpretation.
in a roundabout sort of way, is the necessary existence an exception when it comes to the contingent set? I'm saying yes, definitionally it is.
You just said that there's no exception, and then now you change your mind.
I.e., you said, is God the only exception?
So if there is an
And the answer
exception
was
that
yes.
can be applied, that can possibly apply, why does it not apply to the creation?
I've answered to, okay.
Because I can give the
Okay,
the
this is a
definition-
different question.
I can give this definition that you just said
Right.
about the universe directly. I can say, whoa, that the universe is just independent. It cannot be created.
Right.
It created itself. I can say the exact same things, the exact same arguments that you'd use with God to the universe directly, to the creation directly, and it would still have the same sense, the same argument as you're making about God. How is that different? That's my question.
Okay, are you and the universe contingent or necessary?
It depends on what you mean by that.
By the definition I've given you since 15 minutes ago, brother.
You can give any definition to anything that you
Brother,
want.
this is the modal logic definition.
No, what I'm
Don't
saying
project
is-
onto me
no,
just
what I'm
because you
saying
don't
is-
know. If you don't know, tap out and walk away.
I don't know.
But don't
What's your
gaslight
answer?
me into
I
saying,
don't know.
oh, you're making up these definitions.
No, I don't have a definitive
It's
answer.
modal
You tell
logic,
me.
brother.
I don't
I'm
know.
telling you
I
where I'm
don't
getting
have-
these definitions from. If you are composed of a part,
Yeah.
how can you say you're independent when you're dependent on that part? Do you see my point? So you have to be contingent. You can't be necessary by definition.
Yeah. Okay.
Because could you be any other way? Could your arm be here or there? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
That means you're contingent. Can you cease to exist? Yes.
Yeah.
So you by any rational Leibnizian definition you want to take, you know Leibniz, right?
Huh?
Leibniz.
Leibniz.
Yeah, Leibniz, the philosopher who told us about the principle of sufficient reason.
No.
That i.e. every effect has a cause.
Yeah.
That was the principle that he gave.
Yeah.
According to any criteria, brother.
Yeah.
You have to accept that a necessary existence cannot be any other way, is not composed of parts, and cannot cease to exist. The universe and everything in it does not fulfill that criteria. And by definition, for us to be contingent on something, it has to be necessary. We say that necessary existence is God.
Okay. Why can't you say that this necessary existence is creation itself and nothing else?
Right.
Why can't you say that?
Then it is
What prevents it?
Right. What prevents it is that if it's the creation, then that would mean it's contingent and not necessary.
That you just go one step backwards. That's what you're doing. There's
Brother,
nothing different.
okay, let me use a different language then.
Yeah.
You're saying how comes you haven't, you're not the end of the chain.
You are a contingent, and then therefore there is a God. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Brother, it's deductive reasoning. How does that not
conclusion
make
doesn't
sense?
flow,
That's the definition of sense.
The conclusion doesn't flow
That's the definition of coherence.
No. I mean, for something
How
to
does it not make sense?
The conclusion needs to flow from
It absolutely does.
premises. It doesn't flow from the premises. So it's like you're contingent, and then therefore there's a God.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me walk through it, yeah? You said yourself you accept the premises, i.e. you and everything around you and the universe is contingent. You accepted this, right?
It depends on what you mean by contingent. That's the question. This depends on what you mean.
I wish
What
I
am
could just have a board
What am
here
I? What am I?
that just has
So,
the definition of contingent and necessary
No,
here.
what
I've
do you
said
mean
it
by
so
it?
many times. If I had it,
depends
I would
on
be a
what you mean.
millionaire.
No, it depends on what you mean by it. It depends. You can give any definition to anything you want to manipulate the argument. So what,
I think you're gaslighting me, honestly.
No.
Are you
You're
a
doing
real
that.
person?
No, you're doing that.
No, are you a
You're
real
doing that.
person?
You're doing that.
Please tell me
You're playing.
You're not a
playing
real,
with the
like,
definitions.
if you're a real person,
And I know- I
I'm
use
losing
these
hope
tricks.
with humanity.
That you're using these tricks. But you're
Using
not,
these
you're-
tricks,
we're not- we're
telling
not
you what
getting
modal
anywhere.
logic is, quoting to you philosophers, quoting to you logicians, and then you telling me I'm making it up. What a joke.
No, I mean, the conclusions that you make do not flow from the premises.
Of course they do.
They don't. They do not.
You're not even allowing them to flow, because you know what you're saying? You say, how do we know the definition of contingency? I've given you a definition of contingency.
So-
what's the definition? Told you like 5 times. Tell me the definition that I've given you.
It needs to be relying on something else.
Brother,
That's
if
what I'm
you
saying.
give me all 3 bits
Yeah.
right now, I will salute you on camera. If you give me the 3 points of the definition of
It
contingency.
needs to be pre-existing. It needs to be post-existing to everything, and it needs to be independent from anything else.
That's not what I said.
What are the 3 things?
Now you need to salute me on camera.
I didn't agree to
Brother.
that. Never agreed to that. But,
Deductive reasoning, brother. It's
that-
inferred.
but that this
You
these are the 3 things that you
accept
mentioned.
inference when it comes to induction.
But
You should
these are the 3
accept
things
it
that you
here as
said.
well.
These are the 3 things that you said, right? But you use different terms.
No, you weren't
Okay,
listening.
go ahead then.
Now you're going to be listening because you've just embarrassed yourself.
Because I said
No,
it,
brother.
just in different terms.
You are being disingenuous.
I use different terms.
Please listen now. Yes? Because I've explained it to you several times. This will be the last time I'm going to explain it. Yeah, because my patience is wearing thin.
Yeah.
Something that is contingent is composed of parts,
Yeah.
can be any other way, and can cease to exist.
Yeah.
That's the definition of
Yeah.
contingency.
Again, okay, so again, that's why I ask you what you mean by this, because it can cease to exist. What do you mean by it? Like, if you're
The
talking about
contingent
me,
existence.
my particles, my energy, it cannot cease.
If
to
you're
exist.
contingent, then yes, because if I'm identifying you as contingent, then the definition of contingent needs to apply on
yeah,
you,
but my
of
atoms
course.
cannot vanish.
What?
My atoms, my particles, of which
What are
my
you talking about?
my body is composed.
Right,
Even if I
so
die, they're still gonna exist.
But
right?
can you be any other way?
I can't be any other way.
Right, then you're contingent by definition.
So basically, you're saying God is not contingent.
Yes,
because,
brother.
Because I'm claiming that.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Okay, so
He
that-
finally gets it.
Okay, so
Please
you-
don't gaslight
so
me
you
again.
so you're saying
Please.
he is that way because I just made that claim.
Definitionally and necessarily.
So I can give definition to anything. I can give
Okay,
definition to anything.
give me an example where definitionally and
God-
necessarily something that is a tree or something else, according to you, would be God. And let's see if it's coherent. Let's go. That's what I
else.
should have done at the beginning.
Something else.
I gave him too much benefit of the doubt.
No, I'm just saying, if you can use the same argument that you diminish.
Do you make an argument now?
God
Go.
is created as well.
Huh?
God is created. By the
Definitionally.
universe. Yeah. Let's see how you're gonna go around this argument.
Well, God, okay, define God
It's.
according to your argument. Anji.
I'm just saying. No. I'm
just saying, brother.
I'm using your argument. I'm using your.
No,
logic.
you're not.
I'm not using. I'm
You
using
use
logic.
different definitions to
Yeah.
prove your argument that you accuse me of doing.
Because you're doing the same thing. You're just making. You're giving the definition.
Well, do it then.
and
Show me how I'm doing
you're
it.
Defining.
And make sure it's
God is
coherent
not
and sound.
God is cannot be another way. God is all these things.
Define God. Because I didn't use the
me?
term God.
You
Yes,
said
in
it
your
must
argument.
be God. You said it must be God.
I said it must be God, i.e.,
Yeah.
that was my inference at
must
the
be.
end. Your assumption is at the beginning.
So if you say it must be, that means that your conclusion doesn't flow from the premises that you just gave. It
Mine
must be.
does.
No, it
You're
must.
saying you can make up certain definitions. Do it. Do it and show me that your argument would still be coherent. Do it. The floor is yours, brother.
I created the universe.
You created the universe.
The universe.
Okay, what's your argument?
Just, I'm not contingent. That's it. If you can just claim anything
Okay,
you want.
okay.
Yeah.
You're not contingent. Yeah?
I'm not- no,
Define
I'm not.
contingent.
I cannot be any other way. I can all these things that you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now this definition, where are you getting this from?
I came up with it.
That's false then.
Yeah. How is that false? You cannot disprove what the claims that I'm making.
Maybe that's why you misunderstood what I was saying. You've made up a definition of contingency. I've given you a definition of contingency from modal logic, from S5 logic, from philosophy,
Yeah.
I'm giving you anchors where I'm getting my definition from every step of the way. You have used no effort in this regard. You've claimed that I've just made up definitions when I haven't. That's where you've completely missed what I said.
Again, it has nothing to do. Again, I'm still holding my grounds. The conclusion that you're making does not flow from any premises that you made.
You can make an unfounded claim.
Yeah.
You can do that all day long,
You do that
but
all
you
the
need
time.
evidence.
You do that.
Give me evidence
On what?
on why what I said is incoherent.
Because you can just make any argument. You can make any.
I've already
argument.
proven that to be false.
No, you can make any argument.
No, because it has to come from a field of logic. There has to be an anchorage of those definitions from logic itself.
But still, you can make any claims that you
Brother,
get it wrong.
brother.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you're atheist, brother. This is not coherent, brother.
What is that coherent?
Were you a Muslim before?
Yeah.
Brother, why did you leave Islam for this?
For this what?
For this, you believing there could be contradictions, you not understanding what logic is, you understanding that you're created by chance. Brother, what is this?
No, just
Honestly, I'm speaking to you on a level.
disregard anything that I have to believe. I mean, we can talk about this, and this is going to be a lot more difficult, yeah? Because if we're talking about logic, then it's two things that we cannot verify. Or not, I mean, we cannot tell for sure.
No, but you don't understand logic yourself. How are you going to verify things with logic when you don't understand it?
No, I mean,
You're measuring it by a criteria that you don't understand.
It's in books. If you understand mathematics, but you don't understand every equation in mathematics, right? You can just use the right reasoning. You're gonna reach the right conclusion.
Abdul Kareem, let's take this. Brother, honestly, why did you leave Islam?
For lack of evidence and false claims.
Remind me what you defined as evidence. I hope it's not going to be what we discussed half an hour ago.
No, I read the Quran and I found so many contradictions, so many things that don't align with logic and objective truth.
Like what?
So many things. The narrative of history and how everything.
Give me an
came
example.
to be. So many things. If I give you a certain example, you can that's one thing, and that's the figurative.
Well, isn't that how conversation works, brother?
Okay, again.
If you give me
I'll
something,
give you one thing.
what do you expect me to do?
Okay.
Just sit here and just not challenge
how
it?
How can the stars fall on Earth?
When?
How can that be logically? How can that logically happen? At all? How can it logically happen?
Right. Do you believe that that statement is a statement of science, or do you think it's a statement from the perspective of people?
God made that statement. Therefore,
Well, I've asked you a question.
he must be knowing of what the nature of the universe is. Why was it made that way?
Can you answer my question?
Yeah.
The question I just gave you.
Yeah. What is the question?
Do you believe that that is a statement of science, or do you believe it's a statement from the perspective of the people?
It was from the perspective of God in the Quran. He said
Doesn't
that
make
God-
sense. Why would he give a
God
revelation
is-
from his perspective?
God is holding the sky or the heaven to fall from earth. How can it fall from earth?
He's holding the sky to fall from earth.
ويمسك السماء حتى تقع. I don't remember the exact
Yeah.
verse, but I can come up with it on. I can get it on Google. But basically, he's holding the heaven from falling on earth. How could that be?
He's holding the heaven.
Yeah. 7 heavens, right?
Oh, so you're not talking about this sky here.
7 heavens. How can it
Right,
fall?
then how can you from your worldview alienate the metaphysical aspect? I don't understand. When science doesn't claim to deal with the metaphysical, can you exclude the metaphysical?
I don't believe in anything metaphysical.
That's not why I asked if you believe in it or not.
No.
I'm saying, does science or can science exclude it?
That's not an argument I'm making. You come up with
No, it's
me-
the argument I'm making.
Okay, listen.
That there is a metaphysical aspect.
I'm reading a book from 1400 years ago
Yes.
that says that the stars can fall on Earth, that the sun goes into a hot well or whatever, hot pool, hot. I don't care. So if I'm reading this, what would come to
Brother, are
mind?
you sure you were a Muslim. Because if you still believe that the sun set it in a murky
You
water,
can come with all the excuses. I understand.
Brother.
I know this excuses, but it was clear. But yeah, anyway.
that's such a basic.
No, Arabic is my native language. And
Yes, then you okay? If because it's your native language, does that now mean that you understand Fusha Arabic?
I understand it. Yeah.
Or you understand Fusha Arabic? Of course. No, you don't.
Of course I do.
No, Fusha Arabic.
It's my native language.
What? Your native language is Fusha Arabic?
No, it's everybody. If you speak Arabic, then you
No,
study it in school.
brother, don't gaslight us. Fusha Arabic is not something that's spoken willy-nilly in Arab countries.
but it's read.
It's something
It's read.
that's learnt.
Of course,
No,
it's
it's
learned.
something that's learnt. And when it comes to certain words, if you want to know those definitions of those words, you need to refer to old lexical dictionaries like Lisan al-Arab. Don't start telling us
Again.
that you understand Fusha Arabic, brother. Come on.
Just ignore what me personally.
Right.
Yeah, let's stop use ad hominem. What I have to do. What I have to
Brother,
study.
I'm showing you that what you're saying is incoherent. It doesn't make sense. It's
Just
wrong.
forget about me personally. Just focus on the argument itself. Yeah.
Right.
Again, if I'm reading a book from 1400 years ago, giving me all these prescriptions about the universe, would I understand?
Pass one umbrella, please. Yeah, what?
Well, the first thing that's going to come to mind is God who's the one who's making these claims, or is it someone who lived 1400 years ago?
Right.
So, tell me, if you read all these things,
Right. When it comes to quote unquote scientific or verses that are considered scientific in the Quran, there's a misconception. The Quran is not a book of science. Yeah, it's a book of science. Yeah, it gives science, not exclusively science. Now, the science that it will give, because it is a book, a timeless book, then the evidence that will be given can be interpreted by the people 1400 years ago, and it will be compatible to the science then, and it can be understood today. However, we do not say that our current inductive understanding of science is exactly what this ayah of the Quran was saying. Absolutely not. The ayah of the Quran is from the perspective of us, how we understand it. If someone reads science into it, fantastic. If not, it's not going to affect their faith. The other thing is, when it comes to the scientific verses, because I've gone through them, attached to them are principles to do with Allah, to do with the Day of Judgment. So these quote unquote scientific principles are used to teach us these terms. It's not to teach us science. It's to teach us about the Creator, about the Day of Judgment, about our purpose.
but God knows the future, and He knows that at some point we'll have a coherent understanding of the universe, and then we'll look at these and think, oh, these might not be aligning with what we know about the universe.
What we know about the universe now. For example, a couple of hundred years ago, we thought the universe went on forever. The steady state model. You can't use that theory and say, oh, the Quranic verses need to align with the steady state theory. And suddenly we discover cosmic microwave background radiation and redshift, and we say, oh, now there's the Big Bang. Steady state has undergone a paradigm shift. Therefore, now the verses of the Quran need to be aligned with that. The Quran does not claim to be aligned with the ever-changing notion of science, because science, by its definition, is changing.
So how do you know that this is the word of God then?
Say that again?
How can you tell that this is the word of God?
Right, good. So we're talking about criteria now, yeah? Let me just open this. I don't want you to get wet.
So if something does align,
Would you
then
say-
you'd use it as an argument. If it doesn't align, you say, oh, that's not actually a scientific book. You can always get away with this.
Well, brother, when there are arguments and discussions taking place, the other person will give you a counter argument and a counter discussion. But now it will be up to you to determine if that is coherent or logical or not. That's going to happen. If you give me a verse and you claim, oh, it's this and it's that, and if you're wrong, I will tell you you're wrong, but I'll give my evidence. You're welcome to give me your evidence. Now, coming back to your question, I would argue for a book to be from God, it has to be preserved. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although that didn't happen, but anyway, yeah.
Right.
It wasn't completely preserved with the goats that ate the verses. But yeah. Anyway,
What do you mean by that?
Aisha
Yes.
mentioned that the goats ate the verses or the papers that had the verses of stoning, right? So that was omitted from the Quran. That's one thing. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's not our point. Let's move on.
No. That's a point. You've made the point. I'd like to respond to that point. What about the 3 other narrations of that same event?
I don't know. I mean, it happened. That's why. It's not completely.
There are 4 narrations. You've picked the one that is da'if.
You can always get away with these things.
Brother,
That's
what
I'm
is
saying.
always
This is
get
the religious.
Do you want me to
right?
tell you then?
Yeah.
Okay, I will tell you. And you tell me how I
You can
got.
always find a way out. That's the religious ideology. You can always find your way out.
Brother, I would say the same about you with the atheist. You will always find a way out. Claim it's chance. Claim it's randomness. Claim I misunderstood the
atheists
definitions.
don't make claims.
You do.
I don't make any claims.
Yes, you do.
No, me personally.
I
don't
asked
make
you.
any
You
claims.
said you believe we came from chance. That's a claim.
I didn't say that.
Yes.
I didn't say that. But even if I said it, I said my answers will be purely philosophical.
They
not
were
drive-
definitely not philosophical.
Not derived from knowledge, not derived from certainty, not derived from faith, but derived from.
Brother, you believed in induction. That's faith.
I
Yes.
believe that it could happen. I said it doesn't. It will have to repeat itself 100% of the time, but there is a good chance.
But you
that
believe in it.
I believe that it could.
There you go.
Could. Because
And you
it
believe
does.
in maths.
I believe in
You
math.
can't prove that empirically.
It does happen. I believe in patterns. Patterns
Brother,
repeat
you're
themselves.
inconsistent. Let me
Yeah, you can say all consistent all you want. But
Okay.
That's one thing.
Okay, so the narration that you're talking about is from Aisha radiallahu anha. Yeah? Narrating from her is Amra. And then narrating from her, narrating from her is Abdullah bin Abi Bakr. Yeah? Then we have 4. One comes from Malik, that suckling was abrogated. Ibn Ishaq says suckling was eaten by a goat. Yahya bin Sa'id says suckling was abrogated. And Hamad bin Salama says suckling was abrogated. Now, because Yahya bin Sa'id and Malik are top tier narrators and Ibn Ishaq is not, the likes of Jarqani reject the report 1,000 years ago. Now I've given you solid evidences pertaining the chains, the various chains, and the methodology behind it.
Yeah, and that's not our point. I'm saying that,
That is-
you can always get away. You can always have
Yes,
a way.
and if there is a way and that way is coherent,
But
then
anything that
that's a
doesn't
response.
align with the agenda, doesn't align with the narrative.
Brother,
just strike it out.
That's, I think that's cheating.
Yeah.
Because
That is cheating.
no, anything that you're going to say as an atheist that doesn't align to your worldview, and any evidence that's counter that I give, and you've been gaslighting me since the beginning. I've given you evidences from modal logic, S5, from philosophy, from maths, all of these arguments, and you've told me, no, the definition is this, it's actually this, it's actually that.
because I'm not
No,
making
because
any
it
active
doesn't,
claims.
no,
I'm not making any
you
active
have
claims.
made active claims, numerous active
the
claims.
person with
But
the
because,
claim
wait,
who's
one
making
second,
the
one
claim.
second,
I'm
one
not
second.
making any claims.
Because it doesn't align with your worldview, what you're now saying is, oh, you're going to give me an answer. So what do you expect me to do? Not give you an answer? Not give you a counter
I'm
response?
saying that I'm not
That's-
making
that's
any
your
active claims. I'm just debunking the claims that religious people.
Is there a
have
God?
to say. Prove it to me.
Is there a God?
Likely not.
That's a claim.
That's no. You can't give me an argument and expect me to believe
Brother,
it. And
are
if
you
I-
serious?
if I-
You're
if I
telling me,
reject it-
you're telling me
No,
likely
this
not is not a claim.
I'm rejecting your claim. I'm rejecting your claim.
Hello,
I'm not
darkness,
making any.
my old
That's not
friend.
an active claim. An active claim would be. Something does
See you once
exist.
again.
How is that an active claim? I'm denying the claim that you're already making.
You said likely.
This time he asked you the question.
You said
and
likely
you said
not.
Not likely, so that's your claim now. The burden is on you now.
No.
I can't teach him that level of logic, brother. Thank you for your
I
time,
don't
though.
have it.
Insufficient
Okay,
evidence constitutes.
No,
you for
but
your
he
time, yeah.
asked you now. I mean, that's with you now. So you are going to prove that it's not there. But anyway.